Yay, spring. Really, I know it's spring because the gardenias went outside yesterday. Thank you, got my garage back. Oh, goodness. So I was not with you for Easter. How strange. First time ever. I was in my right place. We all are. But I wasn't here. I hear y'all had a hoot of a time.
Oh, it's awesome.
It went really well. Congratulations. You had like 30 people on the stage at one time or another and rocking music. And I was in my right place. I was in Oakland, California, and we had a great time out there. Beautiful. We have 3 very, very wonderful communities in Oakland. They're all really doing great, so it was wonderful to be there and working with them, and it's good to always be home. Someone at the bank, one of the tellers, every time I go in there, she says, "So where have you been?" I tell her, and she said this week, she said, "So where's your favorite place?" I said, "Here." Coming home's always the best part, and it's good to be back. So being back, Barbara saves up the little tasks for when I'm here. As it should be, you know. And one of them was that we had a recommendation from one of our board members, Andrea Bishop, thank you. I do know her name. Anyway, she recommended that we change our banking a little bit to save a couple $1,000s in banking fees. So we said, that's a good idea. And we went and opened an account at a bank. And of course, you go open an account and they say, what's the name of your organization? And you tell them. And what do they say? What is that? What is Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville? What is that? Well, we teach the science of mind. What's the science of mind? Huh. So I'm sure I answered this banker with an intelligent response. But as I left, I'm feeling I could have done that better, because all I could really remember was, it's not Scientology. Would you just open the account, please? So the question is, how many of us here have been asked the question, what is the Center for Spiritual Living? Okay, other than Barbara, how many of you are really happy with your answer? Got a few hands. Okay, that's good. Not a lot, though. Not the answer that we would, of course, like. Oh, it was great. It was brilliant. You know, so why would that be? Why wouldn't we? Well, I had a brilliant conversation with Russ Martin, one of our beloved members, who is a political genius. He's a former mayor of our wonderful city, and he's a great person about such ideas. I don't think, Russ, you're not in the room today, are you? Okay, Russ is away, so I can talk about it. But he said, John, we need a little something so that we can, like have that little phrase to say when somebody asks what this place is. And I agreed with him. This was months ago. I didn't act on it. And when I left the bank with Barbara the other day, I'm thinking, Russ was onto something. I need to think about that. And what I remembered was that I used to be in a wonderful organization called Results. Which I'll give you a little history about this organization because it's worth mentioning. It was started by a guy that went to the same high school that I did. His name was Sam Harris. And Sam was a school teacher, music teacher in a high school. But he got bit. He got bit by this bug of making a difference in the world. I think he got involved in that Werner Erhard thing and just had to do something in the world. So he came up with this idea that he was going to help change the way our government dealt with helping countries around the world, especially around the issue of hunger, around the issue of food. He's a school teacher, for God's sake. And he's decided he's going to make a real difference. So he founded this organization called Results. Results stands for, I'm going to get the R first. It'll come, it'll come. Is it relieving? Do you remember? It was in my head just a minute ago. So it'll come back. I'll think about it for a second here. The idea of Results was initially to have the government redirect some of its aid, instead of to people to build bridges and things, to actually help with the issue of hunger around the world. Resolving, it's got to be resolving. Ending starvation. Ending starvation using legislation, trim tabbing, and support.
Wow. When was the last time you said that?
Oh,
Years ago.
earlier today, but I forgot I did. Anyway, the idea of it is that it's people that get together and go out there. So I used to go to these conferences in D.C., and there would be hundreds and hundreds of people who would gather to talk about this issue. And Sam would always be on stage with his guitar, and he'd teach us a song. And then he'd have some little something to help us, because at this conference, we would all divvy up into our congressional districts and go off to see our congressmen and senators. And actually, some of them sat down with us. It was quite amazing. And it was a valuable conversation. But he would point out in this that if you want to make a difference and you want people to know what we're doing, we need to have what he called an elevator talk. That's that little thing so that somebody says, what's results? You got an answer. Well, I don't have that memorized, but I did go to their website today. And I found their little ditty statement. And I want to read it to you. This is what, if someone says, what's results? This is what they say. We are passionate grassroots activists creating the public and political will to end poverty by leveraging programs and improved policies that give low-income people the health, education, and opportunity to thrive. Isn't that brilliant? Yeah. Now, you may not get all of that when it's said in an elevator or in a very quick conversation, but you get a sense of it. That they're activists and they're working to help the government do a better job of helping people. That's their work. And they're good at it. And they're good at it. So, I'm thinking, well, maybe we could use that kind of a thing. The same thing that Russ Martin was talking about. Could we use a little phrase? Could there be something that we could learn and say? And Russ is saying we should all memorize it. And when I was in results, we memorized whatever it was then. I think it's evolved since then. And maybe we could. Maybe we could have a little thing that we said. So I came up with one. And it's in your program. It's that little piece of paper that probably fell on the floor when you opened your program. Didn't you notice? Yeah. Some people put it in their pocket. Thomas put it in his pocket. There it is. So I would like to give us a shot at saying this out loud together. You can either look at your piece of paper or you can look on the big board up in front of you because it says the same thing. So let's try this. Let's try this together. Okay? Try to think. We are a spiritual community that recognizes and celebrates the infinite presence of God. We don't seek to know a God outside of ourselves. Instead, we know God within us. We believe that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. Oh, it's supposed to say is. Is. Oh, no, is it R? Okay, it's R. It's R. Okay, then I did it right. So anyway, you've got a little sheet of paper. And here's my challenge to you. It's 3 sentences. Let's learn it. Let's learn it and see if maybe we could use this to have the confidence to say when somebody says, so what's that Center for Spiritual Living? That we would have a way to know. And we could just ditty this out. And but here's the truth about this. This will make us feel more confident in speaking of our center. It'll make us feel a bit more confident about what our teaching is. And this kind of encapsulates it. To me, you want to change it, change it. I don't care. I'm not married to these words. They're just the words that came to me this morning when I sat down and thought about it. And here's the bigger part of this story. The reason someone said, what is Center for Spiritual Living, or what is results, or what is anything, you know why they say that? They want to put you in a box. They do, because you're safer if you're in a box. If they can define you, then they're not afraid of you. That's why not everybody, but in my experience of life, the first thing that comes out, even though the words aren't the same. So, are you Scientology? No. Well, that's not an answer. That's just referring to that one little element, but we're obviously not. We come from an entirely different tradition. Ours is an ancient tradition, and we believe these words. These are the ideas that I think that we teach and try and do our best to live by. But not being something isn't the same. So, The idea is know who you are. Know what it is that you are connected to when you come to a place like this, and it won't be so scary for them, and it'll be feeling good to you if you have some words to go with it. But it's not all that we are. It isn't the whole thing that we are. We're something greater than that. This is a great start. And chances are, like when I read the results piece to you, you don't remember a lot about it, do you? But you got a little something. People will get a little something from this. And you'll get a little clearer about why it is you come here. That's good, Brian. So that's an idea. But this takes me even further into this notion of what are we doing in the world? We're playing with some things at a global level. Some ideas get thrown around that are brilliant statements. Yet somehow I think it's tough for us to relate. We have about 400 communities around the world that are meeting today. We're not going to break any records having 400 communities. And we have this notion that we're going to touch and transform 100 million lives. There's a disconnect for me there. There's got to be something here that's important. But at the same time, you know, we're not proselytizers. Proselytize means that you want to convert people into your religion. That's not what we're about. We're not standing on the street corners, you know, thumping a book. We're not knocking on doors, testifying. We don't do that. That's not who we are. That doesn't fit into our mold. You see, the thing that we don't have in our teaching, we don't have the idea that if you don't do what I say, you're going to go to a fiery hell for eternity. We just don't have that. And with that, yay! Everybody's fine. Everybody's on their spiritual path. They don't need to do anything. You don't need to come to a place like this. We like coming to a place like this. We get value from coming to a place like this, but we don't need it. We choose it. And out of that choosing, there's just no urgency. There's just nothing that's going to push somebody's button to make them have to do anything. And that's really great and wonderful. Yet, how are we going to do that touching of so many lives? And not just touch them, but transform them. How does that happen? How do you do that? Well, I think we do have a gift. And in that beautiful statement, listen to me, the words that I come from me are beautiful, but still, the idea of oneness is a brilliant idea. I didn't come up with it. You know, it's something that's ancient, this idea of oneness. It doesn't seem to fit in the tangible reality of our lives, but when we get past that and recognize that whatever's going on is a reflection of us, we start to get a sense that maybe all this stuff we keep hearing here has some basis. Maybe there's something there to know. Maybe there's something there we can use. You stick around long enough and it starts happening. Whether you like it or not, it starts happening. Because this place has an effect on you. And then you go out in the world and you have an effect out there. But again, we don't have missionaries. We don't have the idea of somehow bringing this to the poor so-and-sos that just don't understand and changing their lives. They're fine. So are we. We are on a path of awakening so that we're aware of the path, so that we don't have to fall into the trap of being lost and suffering and struggling, where that's still pretty much across the planet is the way a lot of people live their lives. They live these constricted lives. They live a life where they're afraid of what's going to happen in the future, where they're concerned about things that are out there in the world, where they think they could be hurt, where they have concerns about their money, or their relationships, or whatever it may be, and they don't know how to resolve that. So here's where we come in handy in this mix. We are not missionaries. What do you think about the idea of being a permissionary? Oh, it's starting to get in there. If we were permissionaries, we could give people permission to live their lives full out. We could give people permission to be okay. We could give them permission to be happy. What a concept. The thing is, though, You'd have to believe that before you could give someone that. You'd have to believe it about yourself before you could hand it out to the world. But if you can imagine that God really is all there is, that that's all that's going on, and that you are the presence of the divine, if you can believe that about yourself, then you can believe it about someone else. And if you can believe it about someone else, if you can see the divine presence in them, even when they're pitching a fit, if you can see that presence, if you can lift them up with the words that you say to them, if you can say to them, I believe in you. I know you can do this. You have everything you need to be successful. I know you're headed in the right direction. I know you're always, always surrounded in love. If you could give that to the people in your life, you are so far ahead of any other game I know on the planet. And that if we actually take it upon ourselves to not only lift us up here, but everyone out there, the world truly is a better place. So I want you to know today that I believe in you. That I know you are. You're the presence of God. Wherever you are, whatever you do, you cannot lose. You can only learn. And if you're willing to do that, to open your heart and give yourself and be vulnerable out there in the world, you will make the difference in others' lives. You will make the difference between whether they can learn who they are in this lifetime or not. That's not a burden, that's a blessing. So go out and be permissionaries. Yay. And create a world that works for everyone. Maybe we can touch and transform 100 million lives. I think we can. I love you all very much. Thank you.